So with Ninja, obviously we have the ability to create as many workspaces as we want. And with the workspaces that you get, within the Master Suite Pro installer, you may have, let's say, on average, about 11 or 12 charts per workspace. And that's including a weekly and a daily chart and a 240-minute chart, all the way down through a 5-minute, a 2-minute, and a couple of fast tick charts. So a question was asked whether it's better to have multiple workspaces with fewer charts or fewer charts and multiple workspaces. Really, as long as you're saving copies of the workspaces, I don't see why having one workspace with a lot of charts is bad or detrimental or could cause problems. But you do tend to get corrupted workspaces, especially if, and I was talking about this when we were going over the data feed connections, especially if your data feed is connecting on startup. So if I have this little box checked and every time I open Ninja, it's connecting as it's opening, that's not very good because Ninja seems to have issues with orders of operations. I'm not talking about, multiplication and adding and subtracting. I'm talking about, do I load the data on the chart first or do I load the indicators first? Well, if it's doing it all at one time, it does have a queue and it's supposed to do certain things in a certain order, but sometimes those things start to overlap and then you get corrupted workspaces. The way that Ninja saves the XML files, it's just problematic. There's some kind of problem in the way that it saves those data files, those XML files. As long as you can save copies of your workspaces, back them up, then I don't see why having several charts on one workspace is a problem. When you start getting into more and more custom indicators and things that are kind of hacks like the Divergences Pro and the Toolbar Pro, those can kind of help to, cause those errors to be thrown in the workspace and you get corrupted workspaces. I don't do this as often anymore because I haven't had the issue in quite a while, but let's say here, for instance, with this workspace, at the start of the day or the end of the day, whichever you prefer, before you close or after you open, save that workspace with a little underscore and today's date at the end of it. You could even put the date at the beginning of the name like this, or even with the year at the front, just so that you get a proper order of it inside of your folder. And then, you'll have a long list of your backed up workspaces every day in that workspaces folder. So you can do like this, or you can simply back up the entire folder. Now that's a fast, dirty, easy way to do it, but you can simply copy this workspace folder and then paste it right here. And then you could put the day's date on that, okay? And you may want to do that anyway. You may want to back up your workspaces and your chart templates on a regular basis. It seems to me that the workspaces and the chart templates are the main things that get corrupted, okay? But workspaces mostly. And then in second, I would say chart templates. So you may want to just make a habit of backing up those workspaces. With the old toolbar, the drawing objects, let's say you're doing a lot of marking up of your charts, you have a lot of work done on your higher time frames that really may not necessarily be necessary to update every single day. And you've spent a lot of time on that and you don't want to lose it. With the old toolbar, those drawing objects are saved directly on the chart. So you would definitely want to make sure and back up those workspaces. Now with the new toolbar, those objects that are drawn on the charts are not saved on the workspaces anymore, specifically because of this issue that I've seen, with the workspaces corrupting. So The new toolbar will save the layout of all of those drawing objects in the actual .tbu file. For the toolbar that most of you guys have right now, or many of you anyway, the location of all of those drawing objects are going to be saved on the charts themselves within that Workspaces file. Okay, so if you get to the point to where you do have a corrupted workspace, you have to delete it. You really do. There's really no way of repairing a workspace unless you're good at that XML code, which, you know, there's no need to have to do that. So you want to make sure that if you have a lot of work done on your workspace, that you back them up, and you're doing that either by backing up the entire folder or by resaving that workspace, you know, including the name of the day, the date in there in the name, or, you know, whatever other kind of saving mechanism you want to kind of work out, whatever kind of label you want to do to it. Okay, when you're opening up Workspaces, let's say that I'm going to open up the toolbar workspace here. So now I have 3 workspaces open. So now you'll see that I have 3 workspaces open, right? These 3 workspaces. All right, so now I'm going to close Ninja. Do I want to save this one? Yes, I do. Do I want to save test 2? Yes, I do. Do I want to save the toolbar? Well, yes, I do. I could have clicked on yes to all. So now that I've saved all of those workspaces, those were the last 3 workspaces that I've opened, that I had open when I closed Ninja. So when I open up Ninja again, it's going to open up all 3 of those workspaces. And the reason it does that is because that layout of workspaces is saved right here in this underscore workspaces file, XML file here. So if you get to the point to where Ninja is crashing on you consistently and it simply will not open, it's because it's trying to open a corrupted workspace. So what you'll have to do, and you'll see when I hold down the control key, tap tab to cycle through these workspaces, you see that the charts do not load until that workspace becomes active. A lot of people have trouble with the toolbars and wondering why, you know, why is my toolbar not showing up even after I connect the data? Well, it's because the toolbar charts have not yet become active. In order to have them fully load, you need to bring that workspace into view to make it the active workspace. And once that happens, those charts will fully load. So that's why we want to make sure that all of these charts on all these workspaces have loaded before we connect to data. And that will typically fully ensure against the workspaces becoming corrupted. Oftentimes that corruption occurs as the charts are trying to load and the data is connecting at the same time, and then all of a sudden other workspaces try to load because you end up having, you know, let's say 7 or 8 different workspaces trying to load at the same time as you're connecting to data. That's just not, you know, not a good thing for Ninja to try to do. Is the less things we can have it do all at one time, really the better. So we want to try to ensure against this corruption. So if you do get to the point to where you're not able to open Ninja at all, yes, you know, it just crashes every time you try and do that. If you'll delete this underscore workspaces file, this XML file in the workspaces folder, that will delete that list of last open workspaces. And then when you open Ninja, it will open this untitled #1 workspace. And if you don't have that untitled #1, then it will simply create an untitled #1, which is a blank workspace. So now I can go back. I'll open that test 1. And I'll open test 2. And I'll open the toolbar. And since we're here on Workspaces, talking about Workspaces, I'm going to open this toolbar workspace. I'm going to draw some stuff here on, say, this chart. And some of these charts. Okay. It's another thing with the Windows key, with Windows 10. You can move these charts around pretty good. Just by using the Windows key to the left of Alt. So to the left of the space bar, in between Control and Alt, you have a little key that has the Windows symbol that has a window split in 4, and then you can hold that down and arrow up, left, right, and move these around and snap them into place. So it's pretty nice. Okay. So now that I have these drawing objects done on all of these charts, I'm going to close this workspace. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm going to leave that one open. It has no charts on it. All of these workspaces, well, this one has one chart, has a lot of drawing objects on it, created by the new toolbar. And this is really the main one that we need to cover now because we're about to be completely doing away with the old one. This one has 4 workspaces with a lot of drawing objects on it. And the toolbar workspace has drawing objects on it. So I'm going to close now Ninja from the untitled number 1 workspace. So I have all 4 of these open, but I'm closing it from the untitled 1 workspace. So when I open it back up, it should open up from this workspace, but all these will open in the background. So do I cycle through to test 1, then test 2, and then the toolbar? Let's see. Yep, test 1, test 2, and then the toolbar. So good. So toolbar will open last. So I want to see, does the toolbar open? Does the toolbar show up before I cycle through to that workspace? And what will these workspaces look like? These charts, will they have the drawing objects on them or won't they? And then what happens after I cycle through to the actual workspace chart? So we're going to close down from here. These are the workspaces that are open, and we should open back up from untitled number 1. Close it from up here. You could say File, Close, but I close it from up here. Yes to all. We're going to save everything. And then I'll double click on it to open. You won't know that a workspace is corrupted until you get some sort of evidence suggesting that. So if you open a workspace and all of a sudden you're missing a couple of charts and you're like, well, I didn't delete those charts. What's going on here? That workspace is corrupted. If you open up your workspace and on one chart you have a couple of missing indicators, that workspace is corrupted. You need to delete it and start over. If you open up and the workspace simply will not finish loading and then Ninja crashes, you need to delete that workspace that it was trying to open and start over. So if the workspace is corrupted, it'll show its hand. It'll let you know one way or another. Either charts will be missing, indicators will be missing from charts, or you'll start to get crashes. Ninja will just crash for no reason. It's typically because a workspace is corrupted. Okay, so here we're going to cycle now through to the next workspace. See how it starts to load as it becomes active? Huh, no drawing objects. Okay, well, what's going on? Let's see what the next workspace does. Okay, all the charts loaded, but I don't have any drawing objects on them. Okay, well, what about now? Okay, finally, these charts now load. You see how that works? If there's no bars on the chart, the indicators won't load. And technically, there's no bars on those charts until, if a tree falls in the woods, if nobody's there to hear it, doesn't make a sound. That's kind of the way this is working. Unless you see the chart, there's no bars on it yet. So it has to become active for it to load, for there to be, for the bars to populate on the chart. Once it's active, it initializes, and then all the drawing objects associated with this toolbar will then populate on all those subsequent charts on all the other workspaces, you see. So now I come back here, all the drawing objects are back. Does that make sense? So I do this every morning, or every time I restart Ninja, I cycle through all of those workspaces. Sometimes I'll even actually, refresh these two charts that the toolbars are on, and then go back and connect to data. That's just good practice. That helps to ensure that you're not going to get corrupted workspaces and errors and a lot of Ninja crashes, basically. I know that's kind of a lot to take in about workspaces, but that seems to be the major issue when it comes to Ninja crashing. It has to do with workspaces. We don't know for sure exactly why these things happen, but when it comes to Ninja being quote unquote unstable, it tends to be due to those workspaces. So once you connect to the data and the bars are starting to come into the charts and all the charts are reloading, I just go ahead and cycle back through everything again, and maybe even refresh that chart the toolbar's on. And to refresh that chart, how do we do that? Just click on the chart and tap the F5 key, F5, or right click and reload NinjaScript. That makes sure that everything on the chart will reload. Weldon is asking, what about the linking feature in NT? Should it be used? Yes, it can. It just depends on what you're wanting to do. If you are using the relative volume and density and you've got a lot of days back on a lot of different charts, and you link these together, for instance, right here, let's say I've got crude oil here, and I've got the Dow Jones on the bottom here. I got the S&P 500 up top here. S&P 500 up top here. Well, if I link these together, you see up at the top, these charts, if I link them together, now this one's turning into a S&P 500 just like these other three, and so will this one. All right, if I change this now to crude oil, all of these are changing to crude oil. That's fine if you're not using a lot of days back with a lot of indicators and a lot of charts. If you have, multiple charts with a lot of days back, like we have with, with the relative volume, and we're looking at so many different days, so many different charts with so many different days back, that can be a problem for Ninja because it can cause it to crash, because it's trying to load all of those, which is why connecting on startup can cause it to crash, because it's trying to load all of those indicators on all those different charts and change the data out for all of those different charts all at the same time. And that queue can get a little tricky, kind of start one process wrongly before another and cause it to crash. So I don't like using this linking system because my charts have so many days back because of that relative volume. But in the future, we can deal with that by running all the calculations on one chart and then accessing the information from that. But that's a little ways out.